Well, hello everyone. This is Robin Carter with Robin's Creations. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator out of Flower Mound, Texas. And today, which is April 9th, I am here to share my fourth alternative of cards using the March 2025 paper pumpkin kit named Daydream. Now I'm a little later than normally getting to my last alternative video. My daughter was in town last week, so I took the time off to spend some time with her, and so now I'm here to share my final set of cards with you. Before we begin, let me thank all of those who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. We did reach 4,500, so thank you to each and every one of you, and we're now on our goal to 4,600. So if you are new, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel, and I hope you will consider hitting that subscribe button below. I'm appreciative for everyone who watches my videos, so thank you. And let's switch to hands down to get started with these cards and some news. Okay, so let me share with you only, one more day to subscribe to the April Paper Pumpkin Kit. Now, I have shared in my previous videos of this kit of how to make sure you are subscribed, since they have gotten rid of the paperpumpkin.com website and everything has moved to stampinup.com. So if you have missed that, be sure and check my previous videos, particularly the last one at the end. I shared detailed information of how to make sure you have an account set up and how to claim your Paper Pumpkin subscription. So be sure and make sure you are subscribed to that. It is a card kit with beautiful colors. I love the little box here that we're going to get. And the color coordinating colors are Berry Burst, which will be our Stampin' Spot, Flirty Flamingo, Fresh Freesia, Gorgeous Grape, Peach Pie, and Pool Party. So don't miss that. This kit, I'm looking forward to that one. It's going to be a beautiful kit. Also going on right now are the add-on dies. Now I did finally get those in, and I think I have them right over here. I'm looking. Yes, here they are. So let me just share. I've die cut a few things so you can see. So we get a nice stitched label. Let me see if my hand gives you enough detail of that. So it's a good size, but if you know die cutting techniques, you could cut this down by doing half of the die cutting. And then here is the hugs. Now I glued a couple of these together so that it was nice and thick. And so I love the hugs. And then leaves and stuff we're going to use in this kit. So it's what I wish I had had earlier, but I love this detailed leaf with a slit that cuts in the middle of the leaf to give it detail, and also this flower. So I just put a little scrap of magnet that I have from all my magnets, and to keep those in place. But those are the dies. Now I have looked, it seems like the ones for this first quarter are sold out already. At least one of them is. So I hope you were able to get in on those. And I just make a copy of the every dies when I get them in, so that I can, if one's missing, I know what to look for. All right, so that is the information about that. The item number for this is 166238, in case I did not share that. So be sure and order those. Maybe they've ordering less since they tended to have leftovers of the last quarter. So don't miss out on those. So this is the kit we've been working on, and I've created several alternatives. And this is the material I have left to create my third videos. Now, those of you that are subscribers to my As Me as Your Demonstrator for Paper Pumpkin, these sleeves did go in the mail to you, so be looking for those if you don't have them already. Since we got 2 stamp sets, I included a sleeve for each stamp set. So if you want to store them together, you can, but they do have a different name, so just be aware of that. All right, and so today I have yet to use the blue envelope that has a little flower on it. I'm looking to see if I have one more. I may have cut them open already. Okay, this envelope right here, I have one more left because I do create one ahead of time and then one with you. So to create this, you're going to slit this open. Now you may have already done that if you follow my alternatives and recreated this card. So this is the first card using this envelope piece, and it used the bottom here. So today I want to share with you what to do with the remaining pieces, because you know I like to give you an idea to use all the materials in the kit. If you missed this video, be sure and check it out on my YouTube channel. There will be a link at the end of this video of how you can see the first one, and then it should lead you to the second and third one. All right, so I have this stuff pre-done. So like I said, when we were left with this right here. So let's get out the materials we need to create my card ideas with these. So we're going to use a thick white card base. I feel to see which side is maybe a hair bigger, and that's your top. And then I have a white embossed layer. Now this is with the exposed brick 3D embossing folder. I thought I put everything over here, but I tend to forget things. I think it's still current. By the way, they did put out the last chance items. So if you have yet to look at those, be sure and check those out and get those items that are on your list before they go away, because they will retire and you will no longer be able to get them. All right, so then I cut this envelope piece. Now I'm going to show you here with the pieces like this. So I'm going to have that, and then we have a good piece left. Let me see if that's the piece. Actually, that's a card base piece. I've got all these scraps. Now these scraps, I would say save them, and you can use them to create labels on your cards. So I have all these little scraps saved. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut this where it's 3 1/4 from the center down to here, and so that will cut past the score line. So just measure 3 1/4 inches. It's hard to do like that, but I'll try. So see 3, put that at 0, and 3 1/4. You're going to cut this front piece off like that, and that's after you've cut this part open. All right, and then you're going to cut off the side to where it's 4 1/8 inches wide. So I guess I can measure this for you. That's about 3 1/4 that way. So that's interesting that that's half of that. All right, and so we're going to adhere that there eventually, but not yet. So we also need a I love that these, now the stamp set that goes with this, although there's no die that cuts those out, it's the Spotlight on Nature dies. Now these are my favorite dies, and I was glad to see that they are not on the last chance list. When I saw that the stamp set was retiring, I was afraid my favorite dies were going to, but they are sticking around. Thank you, Stampin' Up!, because I love using these. So I have cut one with the second largest die. Now this is a set of 12 dies. And so I store them like this. I did regroup them then as they came to where my little flowery ones were together and then these were together. I had to decide just to put this one over here because my little slit ones were there. So I do have these on a magnet, which hold them quite well. You can see they're not falling off. And those, as well as these envelopes that you'll see, are part of my favorite things. So I will share that as we get moving along. All right, so like I said, I've already embossed this with the exposed brick 3D. Now you'll notice one side the mortar sticks up and the other side the bricks stick up. So you know, just be mindful if you like a particular side. It's not that obvious, but if you like the bricks to stick up, then you'll use that side. All right, so then I decided just to put my sentiment right here. Am I gonna stamp it? I may change sentiments, and I found I love this old set from the Hugs with Shelley. Now this is a very old kit, but I love all the script of these stamps. So I have used that hello this week working on my stamps, and I'm looking for it around my desk. Okay, and I have the hello right here. So I'm just going to stamp this right on the envelope. Now, the good thing is if you mess up, you could cover it up with a label, but I'm going to try to get it right the first time. So I'm going to use Lost Lagoon. I have my full-size pad here just for ease. And with the full-size pads, you want to just set it. Don't smash it to pick up ink. All right, and then we're going to set it right down here in the corner. And like I said, if you mess up, you could always cover this up with a label. Now with the envelope paper, I find it's a little shiny. So we need to stamp that first and set it aside so we don't smear it. So let's, oh good, I got a nice crisp image, and I'm going to just clean it over here with my Stampin' Chamois. All right, so we're going to set this aside. Now, because I kept losing things on my desk, I have this little bucket of goodies to use that are pre-stamped and everything. All right, so we also want to add a little color to this. Now, I've shared this in the past. I usually love to bring over my glass mat, which is on my side table. It's always on my desk, except for when I do the videos. So I want to share with you what to do if you don't have a glass mat. So all these little blocks I get when I get a kit out of the kits collection, or you would have received one of these with your first paper pumpkin kit. I'm just going to clean this off so it's nice and clean. And it's okay that it's a little wet. Actually, I may dry it just to be sure. I've got my drink over here, so I hope you have a beverage to enjoy while you're watching this video. It's good to keep my throat wet because sometimes I get a little cough. All right, so take this. Here's the spot like you would have received in your kit, and you can just smash some ink on your block. All right, and then I have blending brushes. Now I've tried to designate a blending brush for each color. I did just have basic colors, and then I decided I was doing a whole lot. Let me pick this up so I don't swirl my desk. All right, so then I'm just going to pick up ink. I like to get another one and just kind of see how the ink is flowing. And I'm going to start here in the center, and just by setting it down, I'm going to start to swirl the ink on there. All right, and then I start to press. So this is how I try to get an even swirl of ink. So don't get in a hurry, and you won't get any of those little blotches, especially if you do that method of inking it up, getting it started on something different, which I usually do on my glass mat, and then just take it right in here to the center of that. So just a little wash of color to help give it so it's not so stark white. All right, and then we need the leaves, and I want to cut those in Lost Lagoon ink. Okay, well, I misspoke on that. Not in Lost Lagoon ink, but Lost Lagoon cardstock. Now, if you do not have Lost Lagoon cardstock, you could use those scraps to die cut that. And I did use this new leaf for the next, it's intended for the next quarter. But as you know, you can use these for all of your paper crafting needs, not just the next 3 quarters of paper pumpkin. So don't you like those leaves? Look at the detail of them with that slit there. So we're going to arrange that around our circle, and then we're going to get some daisies. Now, I have cut and colored several of these, and if you're new to my channel, you may not be aware that I create a cut file, like for the sentiments here. This is a bigger border, and there's a smaller border. And that is on my Etsy shop, and there's a link to my Etsy shop in the video description box of this video. So be sure and check that out. Now I just put a bunch of, I need one more without the leaf. So you can see I cut those for it's just the petal. So we're going to get 3 flowers out of that. And by the way, this is the flower of the add-on dies, and it actually could make a daisy, but I decided just to throw that in my bucket of goodies here for future use. And let me just show you. Here's a nifty little cutout I did with my Scan and Cut, getting several of the sentiment cutouts in one sheet. So anyway, just thought I'd share with you how I get those. And then save the negatives. There is a sheet where you can do put them further apart so that you can put them in your stamp positioning tool to use that way. I don't know why I like those little things. All right, so we need to put our leaves down. Now I'm going to just I'm going to try this. I don't want to put liquid glue where the slit is, so I'm going to try not to do that so I don't have to get out a whole bunch of little glue dots and it take too much time. So I'm just going to put them on the solid piece of the leaf here with my fine tip glue pen. All right, so we're just going to set these around the circle. And try to get it where it's not going to come through the slit there, and a little on the stem. Okay, so just in a circle. Oops, my finger's sticky now. I guess some came out like in that one. All right, so just a nice little cluster of leaves there. And then we need to do our flowers. Now before we do our flowers, I want to curl them up. So I just get my bone folder here and curl them. Now you can do this with your fingers or with a little bone folder. I find that helps. All right, just to give it a little height. And so they're not quite so stiff. Okay, so now we're going to glue those around. I am just going to put adhesive right in the center of the flower so that the petals can still curl up. Oh, I'm kind of off camera there, aren't I? Maybe I put my mat. Let me work more this way. Try to get more in the center. Trying to decide, I think I want them all kind of coming up that way, not upside down. Okay, so there's our little cluster of flowers. Now, if you don't have die cuts, you could obviously just use the flower with the leaves on the side. Now, this one's not the right color, but you could just put those around and have a nice little cluster of flowers and leaves as well. So let's get our envelope piece. It should be nice and dry now. And let's put this on the bottom of the embossed piece. And I'm going to do with my bricks up. And I did find that it was here in my bucket. It's the exposed brick 3D embossing folder, item number 161600. So you can check that out there if that's not in your stash and something you would like to add. All right, envelope paper. Now I share this often that it's very thin paper. It's usually better to use either a very fine stream of liquid glue, because liquid glue has some water in it and it could cause it to ripple, or use double-sided adhesive. But I'm going to use this because I like having the wiggle room to get it straight. And I'm going to put it kind of right down to the bottom of my layer, so I give it a tap to try to get it as close to the bottom as possible. And then because I don't ever like a stark line there, I'm going to add some ribbon, and I think it might be behind me. Excuse me, let me get this. Now I had some old retired Daffodil Delight ribbon that I'm going to add. Now any ribbon would work, even a white would work. It just kind of gives that stark line some separation from just ending. All right, I think the ribbon adds to that. So I'm just going to cut a little piece of that. And then because I don't want, see how you can kind of see through it and you can see half is half. This is nice and large, so I'm going to put it down on the bottom like that. And I'm going to get my tear-in tape, which has been all over my desk this time. There is some retired or last chance white ribbon that we're going to use in the next one, and maybe that's something you might want to pick up. Now I'm just going to fold this over and put this tear-in tape on it. I'm not even going to pull off the tape. I might here in a minute since this is going to go flat, but let's just make sure it's straight across, and we'll tape that down. Okay, now you could also use maybe a strip of Daffodil Delight cardstock as well if you don't have ribbon in your stash. I just think that kind of brings out the little center of the flower there. So now we can attach this to our thick white card base. I'm going to go ahead and be dangerous and take the backing off and help use that as adhesive. I won't have as much wiggle room, but we're going to work with it. Actually, I'm going to go with the regular bottle of my multi-purpose liquid glue so that I can get a larger stream to help hold this down, because the embossing, it adds some up and down parts, and I want to make sure I have plenty of adhesive, and it is going on my thick white card base, so I'm fine having that extra glue. All right, I did pretty good setting that down in the center because I do have the tear-in tape there with the ribbon. So there's our start, and you can imagine I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to put that up with dimensionals, my favorite thing to add height and depth to our cards. I do cut the large ones in half, so that's what you're seeing me. You're like, how do you get that shape? Well, I just take my scissors and cut right up the center with that. Now, one thing I like to do, and I didn't do it this time, is I never like how a dimensional is right on the ribbon, and it looks like I'm going to need one right below. So I'm just going to add that one there, and I was looking to see if there was one there, and there's not. So those might land on the ribbon. Right, so I don't want to hide the little daisy there. So there is our card, and let me show you my finished one where I added a little bit of rhinestones. So here's some little yellow rhinestones, and I did just a note on that one. And so that is my first alternative using the remainder of that envelope. So I hope you like that, and it gives you an idea of how to use that envelope piece. All right, let me clean up and we'll get started with our next alternative, which uses the flap. All right, got my little envelope ready over here. Okay, so for this one, obviously a thick white card base. You know I love those. And then I'm bringing in a piece of lemon lolly. Now I love just how soft but yet bright it is. But if you don't, so that's plain, all right? But I have fallen in love with this new set. It's called Pattern of Friendship. So it is a bundle, but I did just use the die here. It does have some very cute sentiments right there. And the die item number is 165384. And so that's how I created this little pierced layer, and so that's what I'm going to use. But obviously if you don't have that, you could just use a plain layer. I just really like, or actually emboss it. I would emboss it if you have embossing in your arsenal to give it some height. Okay, now this is the rest, our envelope. Now I did cut it 3 1/4, and then you want to take a little off each side till it's about 5 1/8 inch. Okay, so now I can take that off. Actually, let me turn it right side. So 3 1/4 by 5 1/8 inch. That's probably too small for you to see, but I wanted to say that twice. All right, and then we're going to bring that same in some leaves. Now I have a couple here. We're probably just going to use one. I did go ahead and prep this to use on my third one. So this is a very simple card. We are going to add this to our card front. I'm checking my one finished to make sure I do this right. All right, and then I am going to use, again, with the piercing, you want to be careful that your glue doesn't come through. Let's see if it does. I've been using double-sided tape on this, but we'll give this a whirl. That way I'll be able to tell you if it comes through or not. It's so fine, I'm hoping that it doesn't. Okay, it looks like we're good to go. So just, you know, don't be too heavy with it or it might. I'm going to rub that till it's nice and neat. On my screen, this yellow looks very, very fluorescent almost, but hopefully it doesn't. And I just thought that makes this card really cheery with that. Now we have a score line here. And so this is the ribbon I was talking about that's on the last chance list. I think it's a really cute ribbon. It's 164205. And of course, with white ribbon, you could dye it if you wanted to take the time to do that. I actually have never done it, but I hear people can do that, or they take their blends and color it. I'm not sure how that would work with this rippled side, but I want to share my ribbon saving technique with you again. So I just have, this is what I keep water and alcohol in to help refill my spritzers and stuff, or things with like my water painters. This tip makes it really easy to fill in those watercolor painters. So here's what I'm going to do. Now first you want to make sure that you measure around it. I have this old measuring tape here, that when you go around, it's going to be big enough to go across your piece. So as you can see, that is 7 inches. So that'll give us plenty to go around here. Now I'm going to do a bow. I've kind of come up with a new bow technique. Actually, I want this over here, I think. No, I don't. I want it over here. I'm right-handed. All right, so you cross over your ribbon. Give yourself plenty of room to make a bow. All right, and do your usual starting knot. And I usually turn the top one over. All right, pull that tight. Now, you're going to want to make this loop. Okay, I just brought up that. And then go ahead and stick it, actually I want to do it this way. And then go ahead and stick it in this corner. And then when you bring this around, it should give us the right little knot there. Now make sure your back ribbon is flat. And see, now I get the perfect little front doing it that way. I don't know how I did that, but it just always works that way, to where my ribbon is nice and neat there, and then I can pull it. And I generally like tiny bows. Okay, so you can see it's still attached to my roll, so I haven't wasted any ribbon. I may trim that just a hair, and now I can cut this off. All right, now slide it off your bottle. And sometimes I get it a little tight. That one worked well. And then decide, do you want it in the center? If you do want it in the center, you're going to cut this right in half. But I want my bow on this side, so I'm going to do it about there. These are not my ribbon cutting scissors. Okay, so now my bow is on that hand side, and you can fuss with it a little bit, but be careful because your ribbon, believe it or not, it's in like 2 separate pieces. All right, so let's get our tear and tape. I guess I need to start sticking this stuff in my little bucket so stuff doesn't go missing. I did get rid of the little puppy paper. I think that was distracting me, seeing all that on my surface. All right, so we have plenty to move around there. And so that's how you can do ribbon on your envelope, because you know it's really fine paper. And if you tried to tie that around, it would not hold up. It would kind of fall apart or bend on you. But this way I can get it nice and tight and not overdo it. I want it to sit flat, so make sure you have it flat. Okay, so now we can add this to our card front. I'm going to be brave again and use the tear and tape to help me. And then just put a fine stream of my Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. I've laughed before and said I guess you could lick the envelope part there, but I'm not going to do any licking. I'm just going to do my multi-purpose liquid glue. By the way, did I say earlier when I did the Lost Lagoon, I meant to say this, you could use the scraps, or sometimes what I like the look of is when you take a blending brush and you take your Lost Lagoon ink, make a wash of it on your cardstock or on white cardstock, and then you have varying color. Now here is our basic one, and then I did do one of those leaves in Old Olive, and I'm going to do that hello from the paper pumpkin again, and of course it has ran off. Oh, it's over here because I cleaned it. Okay, now we're going to use a label, and I love these little mixed labels is what they're called. And so this is a set of 7 dies, and I really love all the different little dies. That one's too big. We're going to use this one. And so I thought I had some of those pre-cut. Let me just grab my little mini boss here. And we'll go ahead and cut one. There's a little one. Don't want to lose that one. All right, I don't use this one a lot because my big one is always all set up over on my other little desktop. But it comes good in a pinch, especially on videos, because it's not too large. And let me get some white scrap. Surely I have a little scrap of white in here. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to put that there. Now with the mini boss, they say it's best to do like stagger your plates. Okay, so I'm going to do that. You can see I did 1, 2, 3, just one. Well, these are number 2 plates, but 1 and then 2 of these kind of staggered. And then always on these dies, it does help if you do them at an angle, something like that. Especially if they're completely rectangles or have a sharp line, then they don't pop. All right, so let's take this through. All right, there's our, you know what, I probably should do 2, but let's hope I make it with 1. Let's hope I make it with 1. All right, I am going to use my Stampin' Pierce Matte 1 because it helps me see the label. And let's put this up before I lose it. I always say best to put it up so you don't miss any. I have a hair there. Now, one thing I started doing, you can see here, I make, when I first get my dies in, I throw them down on my printer, which is also a copy machine, and I make a copy so that if one goes missing, I know what I'm looking for. So that's just a little tip there on your dies. All right, and let's do, what color do I want to do for that? I think I'm just going to do black. It's a nice, black is always a classic look. And I have a little mini memento here that I use. All right, now I'm hoping not to get my hair in, but I want to get this kind of in the center. There, nice crisp little image. Now you can decide if you want it here, here, but I'm going to put it up here just to go that way. Now when I do that, here's what I do. I do put my dimensionals on the top and bottom of the, I better stagger these so that it holds it up. Let's hope it's not too fat. Okay, good. Then I can take off the backings and put this down like that. So what do you think about that? I think it's pretty cute. Let me fix this bow there. It was a little smaller than the other one. All right, so there is, oh, I forgot the leaf. This really adds a lot. You wouldn't think it would, but it really kind of finishes up that area. Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. I'm telling you, I need to throw everything in that little bucket. All right, and let's see how it does like that. That really just adds, doesn't look so plain. I'm gonna throw it in there. All right, so here is my second alternative. Here's the one I did already, and I just added some little rhinestones there, which really help dress it up. So I think now I have used everything to make alternatives. Of course, some of them you'll make multiples, and my in-class paper pumpkin class is tomorrow, so we'll check the PDF and all that and make sure it's good. If you are a subscriber of mine, you did get what I call the draft, and then after I have class, usually we find typos or something, and then I fix those and resend out what I call the final. Actually, let me switch to me. So these were the 3 we made with the envelope. Is that too shiny? No. So we made each of this style, and so of course you have 3 envelopes, so if you so wish you can make 3 of each of those. All right, and then when I finish, I do like to make all my cards and then take a photo and put them either on the Paper Pumpkin fan page, which is a Facebook group if you're not a member of. You can join that, just answer 3 simple questions. Let me switch back to me. Yep, just answer 3 simple questions, and you can be a part of that where everyone shares their alternatives on Paper Pumpkin. So thanks for joining me today, everyone. Again, don't forget you have one more day to subscribe for the April kit, and there will be a place here where you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch my previous ones. The best compliment you can give me is a thumbs up for this video. Leave me a comment, and also share this with your other paper crafting friends. So I hope to get to my heirloom kit. It's kind of interesting because there's only directions for 2 cards. And I did call Stampin' Up! About that. And they said there's so many pieces, which if you saw my unboxing, you know that's true, that you can kind of follow theirs by looking at the picture or come up with your own designs, because there are so many beautiful little die cut elements. So I hope to work on that before my Paper Pumpkin kit gets here, but it is tomorrow I do have class. And then Friday, my husband comes back in from being out of town, so I like to spend time with him. So we'll see if I can get to that before the next kit comes. So until my next video, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Bye-bye.